They started as legends, symbols of hope and justice. But as time passed, the darkness took root. What happens when the hero, in the pursuit of a better world, falls from grace? In this video, we explore the terrifying transformations of beloved heroes into monsters where ideals shatter, and the line between good and evil becomes impossible to distinguish. Heroes are meant to shine in the darkest times, guiding us with their courage and ideals. But in the world of anime, the path of a hero can be as fragile as it is noble. Each one of these characters starts with a strong sense of purpose, a desire to protect, to bring justice, or to fight for a brighter tomorrow. Yet, with every victory, every hardship, the cost of their ideals weighs heavier. Eventually, that pressure causes them to break. They sacrifice themselves, they sacrifice others, and in doing so, they become the very monsters they sought to destroy. These are the stories of anime's most terrifying transformations, the moments when heroes lose their way and embrace the darkness. From the depths of pain and power, they rise as something far more dangerous. We'll dive deep into their journeys, exploring the moments that turn them from champions of hope to harbingers of terror. Let's explore these stories and learn what happens when the hero becomes the monster. Eren Yeager's transformation is perhaps one of the most agonizing in anime history. When we first meet Eren, he is a symbol of youthful hope, driven by an overwhelming desire to destroy the Titans and protect his friends. His intense passion to avenge his mother's death at the hands of the Titans fuels his every move. But as the story progresses, so does his understanding of the world and his place in it. At the start, Eren was the embodiment of justice. He was driven by an unshakable belief that he could change the world, no matter how dire the situation seemed. However, as the truth about the world beyond Paradise Island began to unfold, Eren's idealism was shattered. The history of the Eldians, their persecution, and the violence of the Marleyans led Eren to one conclusion. For true freedom to exist, there would have to be destruction. The very foundation of his beliefs began to collapse, replaced by the horrifying realization that his people could not be saved without immense sacrifice. The rumbling, the destruction of the entire world outside Paradise Island, became Eren's solution. He believed that by exterminating humanity beyond the walls, the Eldians could be liberated. But in this pursuit, Eren was no longer fighting for freedom. He was fighting for vengeance. He sacrificed his humanity, his friends, and his values to achieve his goal. And in doing so, he became the very thing he fought against, a force of mindless destruction. What makes Eren's transformation so terrifying is not just his decisions, but his willingness to carry them out, no matter the cost. The relationships with his closest companions, Mikasa and Armin, turned tragic. Eren no longer saw them as comrades, but as obstacles to his plan. His apathy toward their pain and betrayal shows just how far he had fallen. He believed that the only way for the Eldians to be free was through the complete eradication of the outside world. Eren had gone from a hero who wanted to protect humanity to a monster who saw destruction as the only answer. Lelouch v. Britannia's journey is a complex web of ideals, love, and sacrifice. Born into royalty, Lelouch witnessed firsthand the corruption and cruelty of the Britannian Empire. His traumatic experiences, including the death of his mother and the tragic loss of his sister's eyesight, ignited his desire for revenge against the Empire. But Lelouch was no ordinary prince. His mind was a weapon, and he used it to orchestrate a rebellion that would bring the Empire to its knees. As Zero, Lelouch was the perfect revolutionary leader, brilliant, charismatic, and unrelenting. He sought to overthrow the tyranny of his father, the Emperor, and create a world where his sister, Nunnally, could live in peace. However, as his rebellion grew, so did his moral ambiguity. Lelouch's use of deception, manipulation, and even betrayal to achieve his goals led him down a dark path. He sacrificed his own friends, his allies, and his principles in pursuit of an abstract sense of justice. Lelouch's transformation is not just physical, but deeply emotional. As he becomes more entangled in the rebellion, his own humanity begins to slip away. His relationships with others become more strained as he uses people as pawns in his high-stakes game of chess. Lelouch begins to view those around him not as individuals with their own lives, but as pieces to be moved on the board. His most significant transformation comes when he executes his final devastating plan, the Zero Requiem. In a calculated move, Lelouch sacrifices himself to become the villain the world needs to unite under a single cause. His death is not a redemption, but a tragic act of love and manipulation. Lelouch chose to be remembered as a villain, to give humanity the peace it so desperately needed. But in doing so, he betrayed the very ideals he once believed in. He gave up his life, his legacy, and his humanity to create a peaceful world. Lelouch's transformation from a hopeful prince to a willing villain is a heartbreaking commentary on the cost of revolution. Light Yagami's descent into madness is one of the most chilling and fascinating arcs in anime. At first, Light appears to be a model student, intelligent, polite, and above all, moral. But when he discovers the Death Note, a notebook that grants the user the ability to kill anyone by writing their name in it, Light's entire worldview shifts. He becomes Kira, a self-proclaimed god of the new world, and begins his crusade to rid the world of criminals. Initially, Light's actions seem justified. He targets criminals, murderers, rapists, corrupt leaders, believing that his actions will bring justice and peace to the world. He's doing what society could not. However, as Light kills more people and grows more confident in his power, his sense of right and wrong becomes increasingly blurred. He starts seeing himself not as a man delivering justice, but as an omnipotent God who has the right to decide who lives and who dies. What makes Light truly terrifying is the unwavering belief in his righteousness. He never sees himself as a villain. In his eyes, he is a hero, creating a utopia free from crime and suffering. The God complex that takes root in Light's psyche is the key to his transformation. As his power grows, so does his sense of invincibility, and he begins to manipulate everyone around him, from the police to his own allies. His cat-and-mouse game with L, the brilliant detective who seeks to capture Kira, becomes an intellectual battle between two brilliant minds, both of whom are willing to sacrifice everything for their beliefs. But in the end, Light's hubris leads to his downfall. His obsession with maintaining his godlike power blinds him to his own flaws, and he underestimates the people around him. When he is finally exposed as Kira, Light refuses to acknowledge his villainy. His death, as he spirals into madness, showcases how far he's fallen. The tragic part of Light's transformation is that in his mind, he was never the villain. He was always the hero, doing what had to be done, even if it meant becoming a monster. Gojo Satoru, the strongest jujutsu sorcerer in existence, is a character whose transformation has only begun to be explored. At first, Gojo was a carefree, almost invincible figure. His power was unmatched, and he exuded confidence, knowing that nothing could touch him. This made him both a hero and a figure of isolation, revered by his students, feared by his enemies, and distant from everyone else. But as time went on, Gojo's perspective shifted. His immense power, while a blessing, became a burden. He began to realize that he was the only one who could protect humanity, and that in doing so, he had to bear the weight of that responsibility alone. When he was sealed in the prison realm by the cursed users, Gojo was forced to confront his own isolation. Upon his return, Gojo was no longer the easygoing, optimistic protector of the world. He had become someone colder, someone who no longer believed in the system he fought to protect. Gojo's battle with Sukuna was not just a physical confrontation, but a reflection of his own transformation. He had lost faith in the world, and was willing to unleash the full extent of his power, regardless of the consequences. The goofball teacher we once knew had transformed into someone who viewed the world with disdain, willing to use his powers for destruction rather than protection. His transition from a hero to an unstoppable force of nature is a tragic irony, someone who sought to protect humanity only to become its most dangerous weapon. So what happens when the light turns dark? When the heroes we admired transform into the very monsters they once fought against? These stories remind us that even the purest souls are vulnerable to the corrupting influence of power, trauma, and isolation. Eren, Lelouch, Light, and Gojo each started with noble intentions, but somewhere along the way they lost themselves. They became monsters not because they were evil from the beginning, but because their ideals, pushed to their limits, consumed them. These characters are not simply villains. They are tragic heroes who embody the consequences of unchecked ambition and the pursuit of an ideal at any cost. Their journeys are a cautionary tale, showing us how easy it is to fall when we believe we are the ones who hold the answers. Power corrupts, but more than that, it isolates and it destroys. In the end, the line between heroism and monstrosity is thinner than we often realize. If you found these transformations fascinating, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the complex, layered characters of anime. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Which transformation left the biggest impact on you? Are there other characters you think belong on this list? Share your thoughts, and let's discuss the blurry line between heroism and villainy.